Here are the top stories for today, December 3, 2021. The Philippines rolls out COVID-19 booster shots for essential workers and the indigent population. The Health Department says over 8 million doses have been administered during the 3-day massive vaccination drive. President Rodrigo Duterte says he has delivered almost all of his promises with less than 7 months before he steps down from the highest post of the land. He maintains he will only stand trial before a Filipino judge as he slams anew the ICC's probe on Manila's drug war. Tighter border control is back as the Philippines revises testing quarantine rules for travelers from green and yellow list countries, as states race against time to prevent the entry of the Omicron variant. And a merrier Christmas awaits some retired government workers and their beneficiaries as the Government Service Insurance System will release this year's cash gift starting December 6. Good day, I'm Marita Muaje. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. For those looking for added protection against COVID-19, fully vaccinated adults may now receive their booster shots. The Department of Health noted that persons who have completed their primary series of COVID-19 jabs can be inoculated regardless of which vaccines taken in the first 2 doses. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeire said booster shots may be administered 6 months after the second dose for all vaccines except for Janssen, which will take 3 months after second dose. The administration of booster shots began last month, starting with the healthcare workers and persons with comorbidities. The latest move comes amid the threat of the newly identified Omicron variant, which has spread across Europe. Over 8 million COVID-19 doses were administered during the 3-day Bayanihan Bakunahan National Vaccination Drive. DOH Undersecretary Mirna Kabutahe said the number is based on figures collected as of Friday morning. The biggest number of people came for vaccination at the 3rd and last day of the vaccination drive at 2.8 million, followed by 2.7 million on day 1 and 2.4 million on day 2. 1/3 of the number of vaccines were from Region 4A, Region 3, and Region 7. Meanwhile, Cebu Province, Negros Occidental, and Cavite were the top-performing provinces. A more relaxed Metro Manila is more likely a reality this Christmas, as the Octa Research Group said the National Capital Region is now classified as very low risk for COVID-19. Octa Research Group fellow Dr. Guido David said the NCR's average new cases per day currently are 138 or 278 infections lower than last year's report. Meantime, its reproduction number this year is 0.36 from 0.94 last year. As for the healthcare system, the region logged a 21% COVID-19 hospital bed occupancy rate or 17% lower than last year. The number of intensive care units or ICU beds occupied this year is slightly higher at 341 than last year's 323. This as the government has increased the number of ICU beds over time since the pandemic hit the country in 2020. With less than 7 months left in his 6-year term, President Rodrigo Duterte said he takes pride in having delivered almost all of his campaign promises. In a speech in Zamboanga City, Duterte said he did as much as he could to wipe out illegal drugs and criminality as well as end the 5-decade communist insurgency. He said the country's crackdown on illegal drugs could have been more successful if not for those criticizing the efforts of his government. Duterte lambasted anew the Hague-based International Criminal Court for launching an investigation into alleged human rights abuses in the course of the drug war. He stressed that he will only face a Philippine court with a Filipino judge rather than the ICC. The president also expressed regret over the communist rebels' refusal to pursue peace negotiations and reiterated that he will never tolerate terrorism.
May isa pa, before I say my goodbye. The profuse, everywhere, mapunta ako itong mga project na ito. Kasi pinangako ko ito sa tao. You know, for as long as there are men in this planet, there will always be misdeeds and wrongdoings committed by human beings. Be that as it may, nabi ko, I tried my best. And hindi ko naman sabihin pero mukhang nakompleto ko halos lahat ng pinangako ko sa taong bayan. Salamat.
The government's COVID-19 vaccination drive remains relentless as more jobs supplies pour into the country. With this, Filipinos are once again urged to get the shots, help the country move a step closer to recovery. On Thursday, over 1 million doses of Pfizer vaccine arrived at the NAIA Terminal 3. Assistant Secretary Bilben Mayor of the National Task Force Against COVID-19 called on Filipinos to join the next 3-day massive vaccination drive from December 15 to 17. This latest shipment raised the country's vaccine stockpile to 146.1 million doses. Some 7.6 million doses have so far been administered during the first 3-day massive inoculation drive from November 29 to December 1. According to the Department of Health, the Philippines ranks 4th in the world in terms of the number of jobs administered in a single day, at 2.7 million doses on November 29. Over 55 million Filipinos have so far received a single vaccine dose, while more than 36 million have been fully vaccinated. Local government units picked up from the success of the 3-day national vaccination drive in continued efforts to vaccinate more Filipinos against COVID-19. More on this from Chris Mundo.
About 24 local government units in Western Visayas voluntarily extended the Bayanihan Bakunahan National Vaccination Drive until December 3. The Department of Health Western Visayas Center said since the Bayanihan Bakunahan is a whole-of-society approach, then its extension would mean that LGUs could still avail of the help coming from volunteers and private sectors. Partial cumulative count in the 3-day vaccination campaign until 11 a.m. of December 1 recorded over 592,000 inoculated individuals, equivalent to 74.8% target in the region. The DOH said that even without the Bayanihan Bakunahan, regular vaccination will continue as they are hoping to cover the 70% target eligible population by end of the year. The DOH Eastern Visayas also extended the national vaccination days until December 3, granting the requests of some LGUs in the region. Some 421,000 residents in Eastern Visayas received COVID-19 shots during the event from November 29 to December 1. Although the figure only represents 53% of the target, the DOH said the massive inoculation drive was considered successful. In Zamboanga City, the City Health Office extended the national vaccination drive until Friday to cater to more residents. The extended vaccination drive was conducted alongside the regular inoculation activity to encourage those who have yet to receive the COVID-19 vaccines. Data from the CHO released showed that a total of 87,935 individuals received their COVID-19 vaccines during the first 3 days of the national vaccination drive. Meanwhile, Laguna Province will hold a special vaccination day inspired by the nationwide Bayanihan Bakunahan vaccination drive to fast-track local inoculation. Governor Ramil Hernandez said they plan to hold the so-called Provincial Vaccination Day on December 13. To further motivate the towns to vaccinate as many residents as they can, cash incentives would be given away to the top-performing municipality and city during the vaccination event. Hernandez's announcement came amid the news that Laguna exceeded its target vaccinees during the first 3 days of the Bayanihan Bakunahan drive. Around 256,000 people showed up during the event that targeted 210,000 people. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Like other types of medication, vaccines are also perishable and must be administered to prevent this from reaching expiry. This is why the government and vaccine firms are taking a second look on jobs that have already expired or are nearing expiration to possibly extend their shelf life. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. says they are already talking with pharmaceutical firms and the COVAX facility for the country to get vaccines that have a shelf life of over 4 months. For instance, Galvez said the shelf life of Pfizer jabs delivered in the country last October and are due to expire in November have been extended until February 2022 after a series of evaluations. Galvez says the same measure is also being done by other countries. Meanwhile, the Health Department says they have not received yet any report on the mishandling of vaccines. Health Undersecretary Mirna Cabotaje, however, said they are checking the final figures of AstraZeneca doses that have expired on November 30 and will determine their next move regarding these jobs. On Thursday, the provincial government of Negros Occidental reported that close to 15,000 doses of AstraZeneca have expired. Provincial Administrator Rayfrando Diaz II said they have reported the matter to the Regional Department of Health, which will then refer it to the IATF. Still to come, President Rodrigo Duterte expresses delight over the completion of infrastructure projects in Zamboanga. And we find out the latest rules on testing and quarantine for travelers from green and yellow list states. Details ahead. Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
If you are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective. I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work.
The Philippines joins the rest of the world in tightening border control as it revised testing and quarantine rules for travelers from green and yellow countries. These new rules took effect today as countries scramble to contain the spread, if not prevent the Omicron variant. Acting presidential spokesperson Carlo Nograles says under the new rules, travelers must present a negative RT-PCR test results obtained within 72 hours prior to their departure and shall undergo facility-based quarantine. Fully vaccinated travelers will be tested on the 5th day, while those unvaccinated and those whose vaccination status cannot be verified will be tested on the 7th day. These travelers will have to complete the 14-day quarantine if they test negative. Arriving minors, regardless of vaccination status, will follow the protocol on the parent or guardian they are traveling with. Airlines are advised to follow the government's test before travel rule in boarding passengers. Meanwhile, the province of Apayao is joining the rest of the country under Alert Level 2 starting today until December 15. The IATF has also amended the parameters in determining alert level classifications. Here's a look at the amendments to the alert level classification metrics. President Rodrigo Duterte on Thursday welcomed the completion of infrastructure development projects in Zamboanga City. The president led the inspection of development projects at the Zamboanga International Airport, including its newly renovated passenger terminal building. In a speech, Duterte expressed hope that this would spur economic activity and employment in Mindanao and across the country. He thanked the Department of Transportation, Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, and other partners for a commendable job in the improvement of the Zamboanga Airport. President Duterte also led the unveiling of marker of the Port of Busay in Sakwal Island and the Zamboanga Seaport Development Project located in the Port of Zamboanga. He acknowledged the efforts of the DOTR and the Philippine Ports Authority in leading the construction, rehabilitation, and expansion of ports to improve connectivity and mobility of Filipinos.
As my term nears its end, let me emphasize, even with all the difficulties posed by the pandemic, this administration will continue to implement vital infrastructure projects to improve the lives of the Filipinos. We remain committed in pursuing sustainable development projects that will benefit all our kababayans even beyond 2022.
Relatives of Filipinos in Austria have nothing to worry about their loved ones as they are in good condition. The Philippine Embassy in Vienna made this assurance amid the surge in coronavirus cases in the European state. Speaking in a Laging Handa briefing on Thursday, the embassy's Chargé d'Affaires Dina Joy Amatong says Filipino workers are covered by Vienna's Federal Jobs Program, where the government pays a part of salaries of those affected by lockdowns. A national lockdown is in effect in Austria until December 11. Most Filipinos in Austria are in the hospitality, health, and social work service sectors. Austria is included in Manila's red list in the wake of a surge in COVID-19 cases in Europe and detection of the Omicron variant. On December 1 alone, the country reported over 10,000 new cases, with active cases reaching over 135,000. In our business news, Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez has encouraged businesses, especially micro, small, and medium enterprises, to explore the halal market. Halal refers to products that are prepared according to Islamic standards. During the 4th Philippine National Halal Conference on Thursday, Lopez said the halal industry could boost Philippines' exports with the developments in the global halal economy. The DTI chief noted that it has been training food and non-food MSME exporters regarding halal standards and processes through the Philippine Halal Export Development and Promotion Program. The program has benefited and trained more than 400 MSMEs and exporters and more than 10 halal certifying bodies. Other programs are the inclusion of halal food in its Food Philippines branding and expanding the number of halal certified products. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has shrugged off the drop in the local stock market since Thursday last week following reports of the COVID-19 Omicron variant. BSP Governor Benjamin Diokno said the market might have exaggerated its reaction towards the impact of Omicron after the variant was confirmed in the latter part of November. The local stock market dipped below the 7,000 level as a result on Monday. Diokno added that the government should focus on its vaccination efforts amid the threats of the Omicron variant. The BSP chief vowed that the Monetary Board will continue pursuing a policy that will aid in the country's economic recovery. The Philippine Stock Exchange Index reported gains on Thursday's trading as investors stayed away from economies with the confirmed Omicron variant. More stories from the newsroom. The United States joins the list of countries that have reported a case of the Omicron variant. And the GSIS earmarks 3.2 billion pesos for this year's cash gift for selected pensioners and beneficiaries. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Ako po si Sergeant Muñoz ng Philippine Air Force para sa kampanya na Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Proud po akong sabihin na bakunado na ako laban sa COVID-19. Kaya naman po panatag ang aking kalooban dahil alam ko na protektado ako at ang aking pamilya laban sa coronavirus. Bida ang may disiplina. Kaya naman magparehistro at magpabakuna na para sa ligtas na pamilya at ligtas na bayan.
Hi everyone, James Deacon here. The COVID-19 vaccines are finally here and the government wants to make sure the vaccines reach us. So let's do our part by making sure that we get registered to be included in the vaccination list of our LGU. You can register right in the comfort and safety of your own homes through your LGU's online registration platform. And you can also register on site in the vaccination venues or through your barangay. Remember, getting vaccinated is the first step towards ending this pandemic. So let's do our part as disciplined citizens. Bida ang may disiplina. Magpakarehistro at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
President Rodrigo Duterte has enjoined local chief executives to work with the national government in coordinating efforts to fight the communist insurgency. The president met with officials of the Regional Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict in Zamboanga City on Thursday. He called on the local officials of the Zamboanga Peninsula to harmonize efforts in the fight against lawlessness and insurgency. He also asked them to support the government's key programs in achieving sustainable peace and progress. Duterte thanked members of the Joint Task Force for their strong commitment to work for the greater good of Filipinos. A total of 86 projects under the Barangay Development Program are being implemented for 34 barangays cleared of the influence and threat of the CPP-NPA-NDF from 2016 to 2019. In 2022, a total of 39 barangays cleared of the communist threat from 2020 to 2021 shall be receiving programs under the BDP.
Clearly, you have brought significant improvements in the government's fight against communist insurgency through the implementation of the whole-of-nation approach and the delivery of basic services in conflict-affected areas and vulnerable communities. I thus enjoin all local executives and community leaders to support this administration's campaign against illegal drugs, crime, and other lawless activities to achieve lasting peace and security.
In our news overseas, at least 23 countries have reported cases of the new Omicron variant of COVID-19, and the World Health Organization says the number is growing anytime soon. WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said the organization takes this development extremely seriously, and so should every country. The WHO chief thanked Botswana and South Africa for detecting, sequencing, and and reporting this variant rapidly. He warned that if the countries and individuals do not do what they need to do to stop the transmission of the Delta strain, they won't be able to stop Omicron either. Earlier, the WHO chief explained that blanket travel bans would not prevent the international spread of Omicron and only place a heavy burden on lives and livelihoods. In the U.S., White House Chief Medical Advisor Anthony Fauci urged Americans to get vaccinated or boosted against COVID-19 as the first U.S. case of Omicron variant was found in California. The patient was a fully vaccinated traveler who returned from South Africa on November 22. As of November 30, 197.1 million people, or 60% of the U.S. population, have been fully vaccinated, while 41.1 million received a booster shot. The U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention was moving to tighten U.S. testing rules for travelers from overseas. The GSIS has an early Christmas gift for its selected beneficiaries. Starting December 6, the GSIS will release its Christmas cash gift worth 3.2 billion pesos to its old age and disability pensioners. GSIS President and General Manager Rolando Ledesma Makasait said the cash gift will be credited to their UMID or e-card. For pensioners who received more than 10,000 pesos in cash gifts in 2020, they will be granted an amount equivalent to 1 month current pension but not exceeding 12,600 pesos. Those who got 10,000 pesos and below in 2020 will receive up to a maximum of 10,000 pesos. Those who resumed their regular monthly pensions after December 31, 2020 will be given an amount equivalent to 1 month current pension up to 10,000 pesos. Old age or disability pensioners who are living as of November 30, 2021 and retired are eligible for the cash gift. Antique is spreading the message of hope amid the COVID-19 pandemic as it celebrated the Binirayan Festival. The festival opened last Wednesday as the province reported a drop in the number of COVID-19 cases and the loosening of social restriction. Governor Rodora Cadiao, who led the opening salvo of the festival, praised the Antiqueños for showing strength and courage during the height of the pandemic. Activities until December 19 will be a combination of virtual and face-to-face. This year, 50 stalls were set up for the Fiesta Binirayan 2021, where people could buy various souvenir items such as hand-woven t-shirts, shoes, and bags. People could also dine at the Fiesta Binirayan 2021 provided they are fully vaccinated. The celebration will culminate with the Malay Ati competition or tribe competition of municipalities on December 19. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. The Philippines rolls out COVID-19 booster shots for essential workers and the indigent population. The Health Department says over 8 million doses have been administered during the 3-day massive vaccination drive. President Rodrigo Duterte says he has delivered almost all of his promises with less than 7 months before he steps down from the highest post of the land. He maintains he will only stand trial before a Filipino judge as he slams anew the ICC's probe on Manila's drug war. Tighter border control is back as the Philippines revises testing quarantine rules for travelers from green and yellow list countries, as states race against time to prevent the entry of the Omicron variant. And a merrier Christmas awaits some retired government workers and their beneficiaries as the government service insurance system will release this year's cash gift starting December 6. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear face masks and face shields. Wash your hands often. Practice safe physical distancing. Go out only for essential reasons. and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. It's 22 days before Christmas. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I'm Marita Muaje. Stay safe and have a good day.